The massive viewing screen in the command center of Orbital Station New Seoul flickered to life. Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the transmission connected. Around him, dozens of officers and crew members waited in tense silence. The air recycling systems hummed quietly, but everyone could hear their own heartbeat in the stillness. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Ambassador Kang So-young. She had represented humanity in the Galactic Council for 5 years. Her usually composed expression was now tired and defeated. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had not slept for days. Her diplomatic uniform was wrinkled and her hair was not as neat as usual. "Admiral Park," she began, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "I am transmitting from the council chambers on Nexus Prime. The vote has been concluded." Park felt his jaw tighten. Around the room, he could sense the tension building. Chief Communications Officer Choi Min-ho leaned forward in his chair. Captain Lee Tae-ho, who had just arrived from his patrol mission, stood near the back of the room with his arms crossed. "The Galactic Council has voted to banish humanity from galactic civilization," Ambassador Kang continued. Her words hit the room like a physical blow. Several officers gasped. Someone dropped a datapad, and it clattered on the metal floor. The final vote was 847 in favor, 156 against, with 23 abstentions. The Valdorian Empire led the motion, supported by the Crystalline Collective and the Hegemony of Rings. "They have given us 30 standard days to withdraw from all inhabited systems and cease all interstellar activities." Admiral Park remained perfectly still, but his mind was racing. Behind him, he could hear whispered conversations starting. Someone was crying softly. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone in the room. What was their reasoning? Park asked, though he suspected he already knew. Ambassador Kang's face showed a flash of anger. "They claim we are too aggressive, too unpredictable. Our rapid technological advancement threatens the established order. The Valdorian representative said humanity spreads chaos wherever we go. He said we refuse to follow proper procedures and show no respect for traditional ways." Captain Lee stepped forward. "That is complete nonsense. Our colonies have been model citizens. We have followed every regulation, paid every tax, contributed to every joint project they requested." "I know that, Captain," Ambassador Kang replied. "I presented our record to the Council. Our peaceful exploration, our scientific contributions, our humanitarian aid to struggling worlds. None of it mattered. They had already made up their minds." Room fell silent again. Park could see the faces around him changing from shock to anger to despair. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to building bridges between humanity and other species. Now they were being told their efforts were worthless. "There is more," Ambassador Kang continued. "I spoke with several representatives, privately after the vote. The younger species wanted to support us, but they were pressured by the older powers. The Nexarian delegate told me they were threatened with trade sanctions if they voted against the banishment." "Political pressure," muttered Chief Engineer Kim Nari from her station. "They were scared into voting against us." Park nodded slowly. "What about our colonies? What about the civilians? All human settlements must be evacuated within the 30-day period. Any humans remaining in Council space after that time will be considered criminals and dealt with accordingly. Our ships will be escorted to the outer rim and forbidden from returning." The full impact of the decision was starting to sink in. 17 human colonies spread across the galaxy would need to be abandoned. Millions of people would lose their homes. Research stations, mining operations, trading posts, all would be lost. Generations of work destroyed by a single vote. Captain Lee's communications officer, a young woman named Han Soo-jin, raised her hand. "Ambassador, what about our people who are married to aliens? What about the children?" Ambassador Kang's expression grew even sadder. "Mixed families must choose. The alien spouse and any hybrid children can stay if they renounce all ties to humanity. Otherwise, they must leave with us." The cruelty of it struck everyone in the room. Families would be torn apart. Children would be forced to choose between their human parent and their home world. It was not just banishment. It was systematic, Destruction of human connections to the galaxy. Director of Intelligence Lim Jae-won, who had been quiet until now, spoke up from his corner of the room. Ambassador, did you get any sense of their real motivations? Beyond the official reasons? Ambassador Kang hesitated for a moment. This is not for the official record, but yes. I believe they are afraid of us. The Valdorian Military Council has been tracking our technological development. In the past 50 years, we have advanced faster than any species in recorded galactic history. They think if they give us another century, we might surpass them entirely. So this is about maintaining power, Park said quietly. Yes. The established species have controlled galactic politics for thousands of years. They see humanity as a threat to that control. Not because we are violent or aggressive, but because we are innovative and adaptable. We do not follow their rigid traditions. We find new solutions to old problems that terrifies them. General Yang Soo-jin, who had been listening from the back corner, stepped forward. Admiral, what are our orders? Park was quiet for a long moment. Around him, the command staff waited. Outside the station's massive windows, the blue and white marble of Earth turned slowly in space. Humanity's homeworld looked peaceful and beautiful, unaware that its children had just been cast out from the galactic community. We follow the Council's directive, Park said finally. Begin evacuation procedures for all colonies. Recall our exploration fleets. Coordinate with civilian authorities for refugee resettlement. The disappointment in the room was obvious. People had hoped their admiral would defy the Council, would find a way to fight back. But Park was not finished speaking. However, he continued, and something in his tone made everyone look up. I want a full senior staff meeting in 1 hour. Department heads only. We need to discuss our options. Something in the way he said options made several officers exchange glances. Director Lim's eyebrows raised slightly. General Yang nodded with understanding. Ambassador Kang, Park said to the screen, thank you for your service to humanity. Return home safely. We will need your expertise in the coming days. The transmission ended, leaving the room in silence. Slowly, people began to file out, returning to their duties with heavy hearts. But the senior officers remained, sensing that Admiral Park had more to say. When the room was mostly empty, Park turned to face his remaining staff. The Galactic Council thinks they have solved their human problem, he said quietly. They believe fear and isolation will break us. They are about to learn that they have made a serious mistake. Captain Lee looked puzzled. Sir? Park smiled for the first time that day, and it was not a pleasant expression. They are not banishing us because we are weak, Captain. They are banishing us because we are strong, because we are everything they fear they can never become. He looked around the room at his officers. In 1 hour, we discuss what the Council does not know about humanity's true capabilities. What they do not know might surprise even you. The room was quiet, but now it was a different kind of silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of predators preparing to hunt. Outside the station, Earth continued its slow rotation, and humanity prepared to show the galaxy what it really meant to make the first move. 1 hour after the devastating news from the Galactic Council, Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood in the most secure conference room on Station New Seoul. The walls were lined with signal-blocking material that could stop any listening device. Only 6 people sat around the oval table, each one carefully chosen for this moment. General Yang Soo-jin sat to his right, her military uniform crisp despite the late hour. Director of Intelligence Lim Jae-won occupied the chair across from her, his fingers drumming quietly on the table. Captain Lee Tae-ho looked tired but alert after his recent patrol mission. Dr. Shin Yoon-ji, the chief science officer, had arrived carrying several sealed data cases. Colonel Bae Dong-hyun from Special Operations sat silently in the corner, watching everyone with careful eyes. What I am about to show you, Admiral Park began, has been classified at the highest levels for 23 years. Even some of you do not know the full scope of what humanity has been preparing for. He nodded to Dr. Shin, who stood and moved. To the large display screen at the front of the room. She inserted a data chip and entered several security codes. The screen came to life with technical diagrams and project files. Project Silent Thunder, Dr. Shin announced. We began this research in 2364, shortly after our first contact with the Valdorian Empire. Even then, some of us suspected that peaceful coexistence might not be possible forever. General Yang leaned forward. Doctor, I have read reports about advanced propulsion research, but nothing like this. That is because we kept the real breakthroughs hidden, Dr. Shin replied. What you saw in official reports was maybe 10% of our actual progress. The screen showed a strange-looking ship design. It was sleeker than normal human vessels, with curves and angles that seemed almost organic. Strange pods were attached to its hull, and the engine section looked completely different from anything in the current fleet. This is the prototype vessel Ghostwalker, Dr. Shin explained. It uses quantum tunneling drive technology. The ship can phase partially out of normal space, making it invisible to all known sensor systems. To enemy observers, it simply does not exist. Captain Lee stared at the display. That is impossible. The energy requirements alone would be massive. We solved that problem 3 years ago, Dr. Shin said with a small smile. We discovered how to tap into zero-point energy directly. Each ship carries a power source more advanced than anything the Valdorians have ever seen. Director Lim spoke up. How many ships? Currently, we have 12 prototype vessels fully operational, but that is just the beginning. Dr. Shin changed the display to show a different set of diagrams. We also developed nanofabrication technology, automated factories that can build entire fleets using only asteroid materials. The room fell silent. Admiral Park watched his officers process this information. He could see the mixture of amazement and disbelief on their faces. There is more, Dr. Shin continued. The neural mesh network allows human pilots to interface directly with ship AI systems. The reaction time is 10 times faster than any alien technology. A human pilot connected to the mesh can think at the speed of computers. Colonel Bay finally spoke. How many people know about this? Less than 50 across all human space, Admiral Park replied. The research was compartmentalized. Even the scientists working on it only knew pieces of the puzzle. General Yang looked troubled. Admiral, why was I not informed? Military operations should have been aware of these capabilities. Because we needed to be completely sure they would never find out, Park replied. If the Council had suspected what we were developing, they would have acted against us years ago. Our peaceful facade had to be perfect. Director Lim opened a folder he had brought with him. That brings me to my contribution to this meeting. We have had deep cover operatives in alien space for the past decade. Agent OU Jin has been embedded with Valdorian military intelligence for 5 years. He passed photographs around the table. They showed a young Korean woman in alien clothing, standing next to Valdorian officers at what appeared to be official functions. O has provided us with detailed intelligence about their military capabilities and strategic thinking. The picture she paints is not encouraging for them. Captain Lee picked up one of the photos. What has she learned? The Valdorian military has not fought a real war in over 200 years, Lim explained. They have grown soft and overconfident. Their tactics are outdated, their equipment is reliable but ancient, and their command structure is rigid and slow to adapt. What about the other species? General Yang asked. The crystalline collective has impressive defensive capabilities but poor offensive power. The hegemony of rings has numbers but lacks coordination. None of them have faced an opponent that uses unconventional tactics or advanced technology. Dr. Shin returned to the display and showed a new set of diagrams. This leads me to our final development. We call it adaptive technology. Human ships can now reconfigure themselves during combat. A science vessel can become a battle cruiser in minutes. A single ship can split into multiple smaller vessels or combine with others to form larger ones. The implications hit everyone at once. Captain Lee whistled softly. They would have no idea how to fight something like that. Exactly, Admiral Park said. Every battle would be unpredictable. Just when they think they understand our capabilities, we change the rules completely. Colonel Bay leaned back in his chair. So when the council voted to banish us, they actually did us a favor. How so? General Yang asked. They removed all restrictions on our actions, Park explained. While we were part of the Galactic community, we had to follow their laws and regulations. We could not develop certain weapons, could not attack other species, could not expand too quickly. Now those limitations are gone. Director Lim smiled grimly. They thought they were putting us in a cage. Instead, they just let the tiger out. Dr. Shin brought up one final display. It showed star charts with human colonies marked in red and alien territories in blue. But there were also green markers scattered throughout alien space. These are hidden supply depots and construction facilities we have been building for the past 5 years, she explained. They are completely invisible to alien sensors and can produce ships, weapons, and equipment without anyone knowing. My God, Captain Lee breathed. You have been preparing for war this entire time. Not war, Admiral Park corrected. We have been preparing to survive, to protect ourselves when diplomacy failed. The Council forced our hand, but we are not helpless victims. General Yang studied the star charts. What about our people, the civilians in the colonies? They will be evacuated as ordered, Park replied, but some will remain behind in hidden facilities. Our presence in alien space will continue, just in ways they cannot detect or counter. Colonel Bay stood up. Admiral, what are our operational orders? Park looked around the table at each of his officers. We follow the Council directive publicly. We appear to comply with their demands completely. But privately, we begin Phase 1 of Silent Thunder. Which is? Dr. Shin asked. We disappear, Park said simply. The galaxy will think humanity has been broken and defeated. They will celebrate their victory and divide our former territories among themselves. They will never see us coming. Director Lim opened another file. Agent O reports that the Council members are already planning how to split up human colonies. The Valdorians want our mining worlds. The Crystalline Collective is interested in our research stations. They see this as a great opportunity. Let them plan, Park replied. When they move to claim what they think is theirs, they will discover that humanity does not surrender anything easily. The meeting continued for another hour as they discussed specific operational details. When it finally ended, each officer left with sealed orders and the knowledge that everything was about to change. As the room emptied, Dr. Shin remained behind with Admiral Park. Are you certain about this path? She asked quietly. Once we begin, there will be no going back. Park looked out the window at Earth below. Doctor, they made this choice for us. They decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist freely in their galaxy. Now they will learn exactly how dangerous we can be when we choose to be. The scientist nodded and gathered her materials. As she left, Admiral Park remained alone in the secure room, planning the first moves in a game the Galactic Council did not even know they were playing. 20 days had passed since the Galactic Council's banishment order. Across human space, the evacuation appeared to be proceeding exactly as demanded. Transport ships moved constantly between colonies and Earth, carrying what looked like refugees and salvaged equipment. The galaxy watched with satisfaction as humanity seemed to accept defeat. Commander Seo Ji-hoon floated in his environmental suit deep within the Kepler asteroid belt, 3 light-years from the nearest inhabited system. Around him, automated machinery worked with impossible precision, carving raw asteroids into sleek ship components. The nanofabrication technology was more incredible than even he had imagined. Status report, he said into his comm unit. Fabrication. Unit 7 has completed hull sections for 12 more vessels, came the reply from Chief Technician Kim Woo-jin. The quantum drives are being installed now. We should have a full squadron ready within 6 hours. SEO watched as mountain-sized asteroids were consumed and transformed. Rock and metal became advanced alloys. Simple materials became quantum. Computers and neural mesh interfaces. It was like watching magic, but it was pure human science. His personal communicator buzzed with an encrypted message from Captain Kwon Hye-jin, who was coordinating the fleet assembly in the Vega Nebula. Ji-hoon, we now have 47 operational vessels. The pilots are adapting to the neural mesh faster than expected. Some of them are reporting reaction times we thought were impossible. SEO smiled inside his helmet. The neural mesh technology allowed human minds to connect directly with ship AI systems. Pilots could think at computer speeds and control every system simultaneously. It gave them advantages that no alien species could match. Any problems with the quantum drives, he asked. None. The ships phase in and out of normal space perfectly. Yesterday we tested a full squadron maneuver right next to a Valdorian patrol. They never detected us. As far as their sensors were concerned, we were not there. The deception was working flawlessly. While the galaxy celebrated humanity's apparent withdrawal, human engineers were building the most advanced fleet in galactic history. Hidden construction sites operated in dozens of locations, all invisible to alien detection. Lieutenant Park Seung-woo, formerly an observer for the Galactic Council, was now coordinating the psychological warfare campaign. From his position aboard the hidden command ship Incheon Rising, he monitored alien communications across the galaxy. Commander, Park reported to SEO, the alien species are completely convinced. They believe we are a broken people accepting exile. The Valdorian military has reduced their alert status. They think the human threat is over. What about our colonies? The evacuation appears genuine to outside observers, but Agent Han Jun-sik has successfully infiltrated the crystalline collective's communication networks. They are already planning to occupy our former territories the moment we officially withdraw. SEO felt anger rise in his chest. The aliens were not just banishing humanity, they were planning to steal everything humans had built. Colonies that had taken decades to establish would be divided like prizes among the council members. Have they set a date? 3 days after the withdrawal deadline. They want to make sure we are really gone before they move in. In another part of the galaxy, Agent Ou Jin continued her dangerous work deep within Valdorian space. She had spent 5 years building her cover identity as a trade representative. Now that patience was about to pay off. She sat in a high-security briefing room on the Valdorian homeworld, listening to military commanders plan their response to humanity's banishment. Her appearance had been surgically altered to match Valdorian standards, and her language skills were perfect. To everyone around her, she was simply another bureaucrat. The human withdrawal is proceeding smoothly, announced General Vak Theron, the Valdorian military commander. Our scouts report that their colonies are being abandoned as ordered. Their ships are fleeing toward the outer rim. What about their military capabilities? Asked Admiral Zex Corvain. Minimal threat, Theron replied dismissively. Human ships are fast, but lightly armed. Their tactics are predictable. If any refuse to leave, we can easily force them out. O took careful notes, while hiding her amazement at their arrogance. The Valdorians had no idea what they were facing. Their intelligence about human capabilities was completely outdated. They still thought of humans as a minor species with basic technology. The Council has approved our occupation timeline, Theron continued. We take control of the former human mining worlds in the Centauri sector. The Crystalline Collective gets their research stations. The hegemony of rings can have the agricultural worlds. And if humans try to return, asked another officer. Then we destroy them, Theron said coldly. The Council's patience with human expansion is over. Any ship that enters our space will be considered an act of war. O transmitted this intelligence immediately to the hidden human fleet. Within hours, Admiral Park Hyun-woo knew exactly when and where the aliens planned to move. Back in the asteroid belt, Commander Seo received new orders. The time for hiding was almost over. Phase 2 of Operation Silent Thunder was about to begin. All construction facilities, he announced on the Yao. Encrypted command channel. Accelerate production to maximum capacity. We need every ship ready within 48 hours. The response was immediate. Across dozens of hidden locations, nano-fabrication units worked at full speed. Entire ship hulls were completed in hours. Quantum drives came online one after another. Neural mesh systems calibrated themselves to new pilots. Captain Kwan reported from her position near the Galactic core. Ji-hoon, we now have over 200 operational vessels. The fleet is ready for deployment. 200? SEO was amazed. 3 weeks ago, they had only 12 prototype ships. Now they commanded a force larger than most alien battle fleets. The nanofabrication technology exceeded all projections, Quan explained. Once we perfected the process, production became exponential. We can now build ships faster than we can train pilots. Dr. Shin Yunji, monitoring from her mobile laboratory, added her report. The adaptive technology is functioning perfectly. Our ships can reconfigure themselves in real time. We tested it yesterday by turning a science vessel into a heavy cruiser while it was flying at full speed. The final piece of the deception was Admiral Park's public farewell message. Broadcast across the galaxy on all channels, it appeared to be humanity's surrender to the Council's will. People of the galaxy, Park said, his image transmitted to billions of viewers. Humanity accepts the wisdom of the Galactic Council. We have caused disruption through our rapid expansion and unconventional methods. We withdraw from galactic civilization with respect for your decision. The alien species watching felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. The troublesome humans were finally admitting defeat. The dangerous period of human expansion was over. We ask only for time to gather our people and resources, Park continued. In 3 days, all human presence will be removed from Council space. We will retreat to the outer rim and trouble you no more. Behind the humble words, every human listener heard the hidden message. 3 days to complete final preparations. 3 days before humanity showed the galaxy what it meant to make the first move. As the transmission ended, alien leaders across the galaxy congratulated themselves. The human problem had been solved peacefully. Their rigid order would continue, unchanged. They had no idea that humanity had just declared war in the politest possible terms. In hidden bases throughout the galaxy, human crews made final preparations. Ships powered up their quantum drives. Pilots connected to neural mesh systems. Weapons charged with energy the aliens had never seen before. The galaxy thought it was watching humanity's defeat. It was actually witnessing the calm before the storm. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at Earth one last time. Tomorrow the real war would begin. And when it did, the galaxy would learn that banishing humanity was the biggest mistake in galactic history. The silent fleet was ready. Now it was time to teach the Galactic Council about the consequences of underestimating human determination. The morning after humanity's withdrawal deadline, the galaxy woke up to silence. Every human colony stood empty. Every human ship had vanished from sensor screens. The great evacuation appeared complete and final. Across alien space, governments and military commanders felt a wave of relief. The human problem was solved. On the Valdorian homeworld, General Vaktheron reviewed the sensor reports with satisfaction. Confirmed, he announced to his staff. No human presence detected in any monitored system. They have withdrawn completely as ordered. Admiral Zex Corvain nodded approvingly. Begin Phase 1 of territorial occupation. I want our fleets moving toward the former human colonies within the hour. Similar conversations were happening throughout the galaxy. The Crystalline Collective prepared to claim human research stations. The hegemony of rings organized expeditions to fertile agricultural worlds. Dozens of species planned to divide the abandoned human territories among themselves. None of them noticed the quantum signatures that existed just outside normal sensor range. The human fleet waited in dimensional phase, invisible and patient. Captain Li Teho sat in the command chair of his modified vessel Busandon, now equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humanity had ever developed. Through the neural mesh interface, he could feel every system of his ship as if it were part of his own body. The sensation was incredible and slightly overwhelming. Captain, reported his navigator, Lieutenant Song Mi-young. We have confirmation. Valdorian Fleet Group 7 is approaching the Kepler system. They plan to occupy our former mining stations. Lee smiled grimly. The Kepler system had been one of humanity's most productive mining operations. The Valdorians clearly wanted those resources for themselves. Signal the fleet, Lee ordered. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. Across the galaxy, Similar orders went out to dozens of human ships. The first phase of humanity's response was about to begin. The Valdorian fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and 30 escort vessels. They approached the abandoned Kepler mining stations with confidence, expecting to find empty facilities ready for occupation. Admiral Corvain himself commanded the operation from his flagship. "Sensors show no human presence," reported his tactical officer. "The stations appear to be powered down but intact." "Excellent," Corvain replied. "Begin docking procedures. I want full technical teams examining everything. These humans may have left behind useful technology." That was when the impossible happened. The Busan Dawn phased into normal space directly behind the Valdorian flagship. One moment the sensors showed empty space. The next moment a sleek human vessel appeared as if materializing from nothing. Before the aliens could react, the human ship fired. But these were not the energy weapons the Valdorians expected. Instead, electromagnetic pulse beams struck their ship, shutting down electronics without causing physical damage. The flagship went dark and dead in space. "What was that?" Corvain shouted into his emergency communicator. But his communication systems were offline too. Around the fleet, more human ships appeared from nowhere. They struck with surgical precision, disabling engines and weapons but avoiding life support systems. Within minutes, the entire Valdorian force was helpless and floating dead in space. Lee opened a communication channel to the disabled ships. "Valdorian vessels, this is Captain Lee Tae-ho of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You are trespassing in human territory. We suggest you repair your systems and leave immediately." The aliens were too shocked to respond. How could human ships appear from nowhere? How had their advanced sensor systems failed so completely? And why were the humans not destroying them? This same scene was playing out across 12 different systems simultaneously. Human strike teams appeared without warning, disabled alien occupation forces, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The attacks were perfectly coordinated and impossibly precise. Major Kim Tae-young led a different kind of operation on the former Human Research Station in the Vega system. Her team of specialists had infiltrated the facility while it appeared abandoned. When crystalline collective forces arrived to claim it, they found the databases completely empty. "The humans took everything," reported the alien commander. "Not just data files, but entire computer cores. Even the backup systems are gone." What the aliens did not realize was that Kim's team was still there, invisible to their sensors and recording everything they did. Using technology that bent light around them, the human operatives documented alien security procedures and military protocols. "This is valuable intelligence," Kim whispered to her team through their neural link. "They have no idea how to secure a facility against infiltration." Within hours, news of the coordinated attack spread across the galaxy. Alien communication networks buzzed with confused reports and frightened speculation. How had the defeated humans struck so quickly? How had they known exactly when and where to attack? On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species demanded answers that no one could provide. "This is impossible," declared the Valdorian representative. "Our intelligence clearly showed that all human ships had withdrawn to the outer rim. They could not have traveled back to attack us so quickly." Ambassador Crix of the Crystalline Collective was even more confused. "Our occupation forces report that human ships appeared from nothing. Our sensors detected no approach signatures. They simply materialized in space." The council chamber filled with worried voices. Some representatives suggested that humanity had developed new technology. Others claimed the attacks were impossible and must be some kind of illusion or trick. But Agent Ou Jin, still maintaining her cover deep within Valdorian intelligence, knew the truth. She listened to increasingly frantic reports from military commanders who could not understand what they were facing. "General Theron," reported a field commander, "we have lost contact with 7 occupation fleets. All were disabled by unknown human vessels that appeared without warning and vanished immediately after attacking." "That is impossible," Theron replied angrily. "Human ships do not have that technology. Our intelligence reports show their capabilities clearly." "Sir, The commander continued hesitantly. Perhaps our intelligence reports are wrong. The suggestion that Valdorian intelligence could be wrong was almost blasphemous. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Humanity was demonstrating capabilities that their files said did not exist. Colonel Bae Dong-hyun coordinated the next phase of operations from his command post in deep space. His special operations teams had been infiltrating alien facilities, for weeks invisible to all detection methods. Now they began the systematic theft of critical resources and technology. Team Alpha reports successful penetration of the Hegemony Central Data Facility, reported Lieutenant Park Sung-ho. We have complete files on their military organization and fleet deployments. Team Beta has accessed Crystalline Collective Research Archives, added Captain Song Mi-young. Their technology is actually less advanced than we thought. They rely heavily on old designs and rigid thinking. Bae smiled as the reports continued. The aliens had spent so much effort banishing humanity that they had forgotten to protect themselves from human capabilities they did not know existed. The psychological impact was exactly what Admiral Park had planned. Alien stock markets began to crash as trade routes became unsafe. Insurance rates for interstellar shipping increased dramatically. Fear spread through the galactic community like a virus. Dr. Shin Yoon-ji monitored the operations from her mobile laboratory, watching as human technology proved superior in every engagement. The adaptive ship systems worked perfectly, allowing vessels to reconfigure themselves during operations. Quantum drives made human ships impossible to track or intercept. Neural mesh interfaces gave human crews reaction times that seemed superhuman to alien observers. Admiral, she reported to Park, the field tests exceed all expectations. Our technology is not just advanced, it is revolutionary. The aliens have no counter to any of our systems. Park nodded with satisfaction. What about casualties? Minimal on both sides. Our precision targeting is working perfectly. We are disabling enemy capabilities without causing unnecessary deaths. The aliens are confused but not traumatized. This was important to Park. Humanity was not seeking genocide or conquest. They were demonstrating that the Galactic Council's banishment was a serious mistake that would have consequences. As reports continued to arrive, the scope of human operations became clear. In one day, humanity had struck at targets across dozens of systems. They had disabled military forces, stolen critical intelligence, and demonstrated technological superiority that no alien species could match. The galaxy that had celebrated humanity's banishment was now learning a harsh lesson. When you corner a species as adaptable and innovative as humans, they do not simply surrender. They find new ways to fight back that you never expected. The first move had been made, and it was devastating in its effectiveness. Humanity had vanished from the galaxy only to return as something the aliens did not understand and could not counter. The war for galactic civilization had begun, and humanity was winning before most species even realized they were fighting. 6 months had passed since the first human strikes, and the galaxy was a very different place. What had once been orderly trade routes were now dangerous passages where ships disappeared without warning. Communication networks failed regularly. Supply chains that had operated smoothly for centuries were broken and unreliable. The Galactic Council met in emergency session almost daily, but their discussions led nowhere. How do you fight an enemy you cannot see or predict? How do you defend against attacks that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once? Dr. Shin Yoon-ji stood in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Seoul Science, watching her latest creation take shape. The adaptive technology had evolved far beyond her original designs. What started as ships that could reconfigure themselves had become something almost organic in its flexibility. "Computer, begin transformation sequence 7, she commanded. The experimental vessel outside the laboratory window began to change. Its hull flowed like liquid metal, reorganizing itself from a sleek exploration craft into a heavily armed battleship. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments, armor plating shifted and thickened, engine configurations adapted for maximum combat performance. Transformation complete in 47 seconds. reported her assistant, Technician Han Jun-sik. All systems showing optimal performance. Shin nodded with satisfaction. Now reverse the process and configure for scientific research. The ship changed again, becoming a floating laboratory with sensor arrays and research equipment. To any observer, it would appear to be a completely different vessel with a different purpose and capability. The aliens have no reference point for this technology, Shin said to herself. Their minds cannot adapt to the concept of ships that change their fundamental nature. Commander Co. Ji-hoon reported from his position, coordinating fleet operations in the Proxima sector. The human fleet had grown to over 800 vessels, all invisible to alien detection and all capable of impossible tactical maneuvers. Admiral Park, CO transmitted. The aliens are showing signs of complete tactical breakdown. They cannot develop counter-strategies for threats they cannot understand or predict. What is their current psychological state? Park asked. Panic, fear, confusion. Some species are withdrawing their fleets entirely rather than risk further losses. Others are demanding action from the Council, but no one knows what action to take. The psychological warfare was working better than anyone had anticipated. By striking unpredictably and then vanishing, human forces had created an atmosphere of constant fear among alien populations. No ship felt safe, no facility felt secure. The confident order of galactic civilization was crumbling. Agent Oh Yu-jin continued her dangerous work deep within Valdorian space. Her position in military intelligence gave her access to the highest-level strategic discussions. What she heard there both amazed and worried her. The human attacks are impossible to predict or counter, reported General Theron to the Valdorian High Command. Our ships appear to be fighting ghosts that can strike from any direction and vanish instantly. What about our technology advantage? Asked Supreme Commander Vex Aldrin. What technology advantage? Theron replied bitterly. The humans are demonstrating capabilities we cannot explain or replicate. Their ships ignore the laws of physics as we understand them. O transmitted this intelligence to Admiral Park immediately. The aliens were not just confused. They were beginning to question their fundamental assumptions about technology and warfare. But it was time for the next phase of humanity's plan. The galaxy needed to understand that this was not random terrorism or mindless revenge. There was a purpose and intelligence behind every human action. Admiral Park made the decision to reveal humanity's true position. On a date carefully chosen for maximum impact, human forces simultaneously appeared in the heart of every major alien system, not to attack, but to deliver a message. The revelation began on Nexus Prime itself, in the very chambers of the Galactic Council. During a heated debate about how to counter the human threat, holographic projectors that no one knew existed activated throughout the chamber. Admiral Park's image appeared in the center of the assembly, as clear and solid as if he were actually standing there. The alien representatives gasped and reached for weapons, but their security systems detected no threat. Members of the Galactic Council, Park began, his voice calm and respectful. I bring greetings from humanity. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Representatives shouted questions and demands. Some tried to flee. Others called for military intervention, but their security forces found nothing to target. The projection technology was beyond their ability to trace or disrupt. You voted to banish us from galactic civilization, Park continued, waiting for the noise to die down. You believed that isolation would break our spirit and end our expansion. You were wrong. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. In military headquarters, government centers, and major population areas, Admiral Park's message appeared simultaneously. The technology that delivered it was impossible to block or counter. The past 6 months have been a demonstration, Park explained. Not of human cruelty or desire for conquest, but of human capability. You banished us because you feared our potential. Now you have seen what that potential actually means. On the Valdorian homeworld, General Theron stared at the holographic image in disbelief. How is he doing this? Our security systems should prevent any unauthorized transmissions. His technical staff had no answers. The human transmission was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. It bypassed every defensive, system they had ever developed. You assumed that banishment would send us fleeing to the Outer Rim in defeat, Park continued. Instead, you freed us from the restrictions that limited our actions. You thought you were putting humanity in a cage. In reality, you opened the cage door. Agent O watched the reactions of alien officials around her. She saw fear, confusion, and the beginning of understanding. The aliens were starting to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. For 6 months you have experienced the reality of conflict with humanity, Park said. We have struck when and where we chose. We have taken what we needed. We have demonstrated that your defenses are inadequate against human innovation and adaptability. The transmission showed technical displays that proved humanity's technological superiority. Quantum drive systems that made ships invisible. Adaptive technology that allowed infinite tactical flexibility. Neural mesh networks that gave human crews superhuman capabilities. But this demonstration is ending, Park announced. Humanity offers the Galactic Council a choice. You can continue this conflict, which you are losing badly, or you can negotiate a new relationship based on mutual respect rather than fear-driven banishment. The alien representatives were stunned into silence. They had spent months trying to understand how to fight an enemy that seemed to break all the rules of warfare. Now they were learning that everything they had experienced was just a demonstration of human capabilities. You have 48 standard hours to decide, Park concluded. If the Council chooses to continue hostilities, humanity will respond with full force rather than the restraint we have shown so far. If you choose negotiation, we will discuss the terms of a new galactic order that includes human participation as equals rather than exiles. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Within hours, emergency sessions were called in every major government. Military leaders who had spent months trying to counter human attacks suddenly understood that they had been fighting with one hand tied behind humanity's back. The humans had been holding back, demonstrating capability rather than unleashing destruction. Captain Quan Hae-jin, monitoring alien communications from her stealth command ship, reported widespread panic among alien leadership. Admiral, their reaction is stronger than we anticipated. Some species are calling for immediate surrender. Others want to negotiate immediately. But there were also voices calling for massive retaliation. The Valdorian military, in particular, was demanding a full-scale assault on Earth itself. They believed that destroying humanity's homeworld would end the threat permanently. Admiral Park had anticipated this reaction. The most aggressive species would need a clearer demonstration of what full-scale human warfare actually meant. The restraint humanity had shown was about to be tested by alien desperation and pride. The 48-hour deadline approached, and the galaxy prepared for whatever came next. Some species prepared for negotiation. Others prepared for war. Humanity prepared for both, but they were ready to show the galaxy that there was a significant difference between a demonstration and actual human warfare. The revelation was complete. Now came the choice that would determine the future of galactic civilization. The galaxy had banished humanity to preserve their established order. Instead, they had created the catalyst that would transform everything. They thought they knew about power, technology, and survival in a vast and dangerous universe. The 48-hour deadline passed with the galaxy split into 3 groups. The younger species wanted immediate negotiation with humanity. The established powers demanded continued resistance. The middle ground species waited to see which way the winds of change would blow. The Valdorian Empire, proud and ancient, chose the path that Admiral Park had expected. Supreme Commander Vex Aldrin announced that the Empire would never negotiate with terrorists. Instead, they would marshal their most powerful fleet and strike directly at Earth itself. If we destroy their homeworld, Aldrin declared to his war council, the human threat ends permanently. They may have advanced technology, but they still have only one planet to protect. Agent Ou Jin transmitted this intelligence immediately. Within hours, Admiral Park knew that the Valdorians were assembling over 300 warships for a direct assault on Earth. It was the largest military force the Empire had deployed in over 2 centuries. They are making this easy for us, Park said to his senior staff aboard the command ship New Sol. By attacking Earth directly, they are giving us the perfect opportunity to demonstrate the difference between our restraint and our full capabilities. General, Yang Sujin reviewed the defensive preparations around Earth. What the Valdorians would find there was far beyond anything they could imagine. All defensive systems are online, she reported. The Adaptive Defense Network has been running simulations. For weeks, it is ready for anything they can bring. Dr. Shin Yunji monitored the final preparations from her research vessel. The technology that would defend Earth was her greatest achievement, a network of interconnected systems that could learn and adapt in real time. The network is not just defensive, she explained to Captain Lee Taeho, who would command the space-based response. It analyzes every attack, learns from every strategy, and adapts countermeasures faster than any organic mind can think. The Valdorian fleet approached Earth with confidence. They had brought overwhelming force and ancient weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. Supreme Commander Aldrin commanded from his massive flagship, surrounded by the pride of the Valdorian Navy. Target the planet directly, Aldrin ordered as Earth appeared on their sensors. Ignore any defending ships. We end this with one decisive strike. That was when they discovered that Earth was not the helpless target they expected. As the first Valdorian ships entered the solar system, space around Earth came alive with activity. Defensive platforms that had been invisible suddenly materialized. Weapon systems that defied every known law of physics began to charge. The entire system transformed into a defensive network that seemed almost organic in its coordination. Captain Lee commanded the mobile defense fleet from his flagship. Through the neural mesh interface, he could feel every defensive system as part of his own consciousness. The sensation was overwhelming and incredible at the same time. Enemy fleet detected, he announced to his crews. Beginning adaptive response, pattern alpha. The Valdorian fleet found itself facing something impossible. Human defensive systems analyzed their weapons and tactics within seconds, then adapted perfect countermeasures. Energy beams that should have destroyed planets were absorbed and redirected. Missile strikes found their targets had moved to different dimensions. Physical projectiles passed harmlessly through ships that seemed to exist and not exist simultaneously. What is happening? Aldrin demanded as his weapons proved completely useless. Our sensors show we are hitting the targets, but no damage is being inflicted. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. Sir, their defensive systems are adapting faster than we can change tactics. Every time we modify our attack, they counter it within seconds. The Adaptive Defense Network was working exactly as designed. Every attack was analyzed, understood, and countered before it could cause damage. The system learned from every tactic and developed responses that made future similar attacks impossible. But Admiral Park was not content with just defending Earth. As the Valdorian fleet struggled with defenses they could not understand, human strike forces appeared throughout their empire. Captain Quan Hiejin led simultaneous attacks on every major Valdorian military installation. All strike teams report success, she transmitted to Admiral Park. Valdorian home defense fleets are disabled. Their shipyards are under our control. Their communication networks are down. The message was clear to every species watching the battle. Humanity had not just defended against the largest military assault in recent galactic history, they had simultaneously crippled the attacking empire's ability to continue fighting. Within hours, the proud Valdorian fleet was helpless in space around Earth. Their ships were intact but completely disabled. Their crews were alive but powerless. It was the most decisive military defeat in recorded galactic history. Admiral Park opened communication channels to every ship in the Valdorian fleet. His image appeared on their screens, calm and respectful despite their attempted genocide. Supreme Commander Aldrin, Park said directly, your attack on Earth has failed completely. Your empire's military capability has been neutralized. I offer you the same choice I offered the Council. Surrender and negotiate or continue fighting a war you cannot win. The silence from the Valdorian flagship was telling. Aldrin was learning what it meant to face human capability without restraint. The psychological impact spread across the galaxy within hours. The most powerful military force in galactic civilization had been defeated effortlessly. The humans had not just won, They had demonstrated that the difference between their restraint and their full power was enormous. Colonel Bae Dong-hyun coordinated the political response from his intelligence center. Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 12 different species. The Crystalline Collective is asking for immediate ceasefire terms. Even the hegemony of rings is requesting negotiation. The collapse of alien resistance was faster than anyone had anticipated. Faced with proof that humanity could defeat any military force while simultaneously protecting their home world, most species decided that cooperation was better than destruction. But Admiral Park's vision went beyond just winning the war. He wanted to transform galactic civilization itself. Open channels to all species, he ordered. It is time to discuss the future. The message that went out to the galaxy was not about conquest or revenge. Instead, Admiral Park proposed the creation of a new galactic government based on equality and innovation, rather than ancient hierarchies and traditional power structures. The old council was built on fear and rigid thinking, Park explained to billions of listeners. Species were ranked by age and military power, rather than by their contributions or potential. Innovation was discouraged. Change was resisted. This system has failed. Dr. Shin announced the establishment of the Innovation Institute, where species from across the galaxy could come to learn and develop new technologies together. The quantum drives, adaptive systems, and neural mesh networks that had made human victory possible would be shared with any species willing to embrace change and cooperation. Knowledge grows when it is shared, Shin explained to a gathering of alien scientists who had once considered humans primitive. The technologies that defeated your military forces can also solve problems that have challenged the galaxy for centuries. Captain Lee led the first joint exploration mission beyond the galactic rim. His crew included volunteers from dozens of species who wanted to explore the unknown using human methods and technology. The old boundaries between species were dissolving into cooperation and shared adventure. Within 1 year, the Galactic Federation was established as the successor to the failed council. Representatives were chosen based on contribution and innovation rather than military power or ancient claims. Species that embraced change and cooperation found themselves with more influence than ever before. Those that clung to old ways of thinking found themselves increasingly isolated. The Valdorian Empire, humbled by defeat, underwent a complete transformation. Supreme Commander Aldrin was replaced by younger leaders who were willing to learn from humanity rather than fight against it. Agent Ou Jin, her cover no longer needed, became the first human ambassador to the reformed Valdorian government. Commander Seo Ji-hoon established the new Fleet Academy, where officers from all species learned to use adaptive technology and neural mesh systems. The rigid tactical thinking that had dominated galactic warfare for millennia was replaced by flexible, innovative approaches that made old-style military thinking obsolete. The transformation was not without challenges. Some species found it difficult to abandon traditions that had defined them for thousands of years. Others struggled to adapt to technologies that required new ways of thinking. But the alternative to change was isolation in a galaxy that was moving rapidly toward a new future. Admiral Park stood in his office aboard New Sol, looking out at Earth below. The planet that the Galactic Council had tried to isolate was now the center of galactic civilization. Ships from hundreds of species came and went, carrying ideas and technologies that would transform the galaxy. "Did you ever imagine it would happen this quickly?" asked General Yang, joining him at the window. Park smiled. Humanity has always been at its best when faced with impossible challenges.